Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Leigh Fuge, and in this video today we're going to be talking about the brand new BLACKSTAR ID CORE V3. The BLACKSTAR ID CORE range has been around for some time now, and it's quite well known in the sort of entry-level amp circuit. This range has always been known for great tones on a budget. You do get a lot of features crammed into a tiny little amplifier. The V3 is the brand new update to this series, and it's got a couple of new really cool features under the hood that takes it to that next level. The one I have beside me here today is the ID CORE V3 20 watt version. This comes as a 10 watt, a 20 watt and a 40 watt version. This is right up the middle of the line. It's a pair of 5-inch speakers, each putting out 10 watts a side in that super wide stereo sound that BLACKSTAR have made known with the ID CORE range. The super wide stereo is great in terms of a small little amp like this because when you're playing it in a room, it really gives you that depth you expect when you play a cranked amplifier. It really does fill the space. Even though there's two little speakers putting out all the volume, it really does get around the room, and it really does create that sort of illusion of a big amp being in the room. So while the top panel of the amp looks fairly simple, there's a lot going on under the hood. So at a glance, we've got 6 different voices going from clean warm right up to OD2. We've got 3 preamp controls here, one controlling the gain, one controlling the master volume of the amp, and the master tone control, which is the ISF feature. If you've used any of the BLACKSTAR stuff before, you'll know the ISF is a special patented feature that shifts the entire tone stack from an American style sound to a British style sound and anything in between as well. The really cool thing for an amp that fits into this price point is the amount of effects that are built in. So over here we've got the effects section. We've actually got 3 different types of effects. We've got modulation, delay, and reverb, and each one has 4 different effect types. So there's a lot of tweaking you can do, and you can have one from each bank on at the same time. The amp also has a built-in tuner, so it's perfect for anyone practicing at home that doesn't have access to a guitar tuner. To activate the tuner, you simply hold down the reverb switch, then the amp goes into tuner mode. The 6 LED lights on the voice represent each of the strings, and then you've got your sharp, in tune and flat indicators here on the lights of the LED. So if I hit my low E string, you'll see that the clean warm light has lit up, but my string is slightly flat. So I can just simply tighten that string a little bit, play it again, and now I'm in tune. So obviously you could tune your entire guitar this way, but for the demonstration I'm not going to bother because it's a Floyd Rose, it's more or less in tune anyway. If what you see on the top panel isn't enough and you want to dig a little deeper, you can also plug this in via USB to your computer and use the Architect software. Architect is a brand new software interface from BLACKSTAR which replaces the old Insider software that you may have used if you own or have used any of the previous ID CORE or Silverline amplifiers. Because Architect is so in-depth, I'm not going to bother showing you guys in this video, but there's going to be a follow-up video where we look at the Architect software and see what it does and look at the sheer depth of editing you can do on the computer. But for this video, we'll just stick to what the amp can do from the top panel. To go with Architect, we've actually got a new feature that you can see here on the sticker called Cab Rig. This is accessible via this output here, which you can either use to connect to your computer or a set of headphones. Cab Rig is a digital cabinet simulator that BLACKSTAR have developed to go with the new ID CORE series. It's only available when you play through the output on the top or when you play via USB. So like I said, we'll dig into that in the Architect video that's coming up very soon. There's also a line in here so you can play along with backing tracks or MP3s, but you can also use this to live stream. So you can connect that straight to your smartphone or straight to your audio interface and your webcam, and you can take a direct cab sim out of the amplifier straight into your phone's microphone in or your computer's sort of audio in and live stream that way as well. Also great for making quick videos on Instagram. And on the subject of the line in, these stereo speakers inside the cab are also full range speakers. So what that means is when you plug something in like an iPad or a direct output from your computer, the MP3s or the backing tracks you play will sound as you expect them to. So that actually means this amp is also great, not just for playing guitar, but listening to music as well. And if that's not enough connectivity for you, you can also use the USB here to connect to your computer, not just to edit the presets via Architect, but also to use this as an audio interface. So you can connect the amp via USB to your computer, select the ID CORE as an input in your DAW, and take cab simulated guitar tracks straight from the amp straight into your recording software. Alright, so let's check out some tones. So the guitar I'm using is my Jackson Adrian Smith Signature SDX. This is actually a relatively inexpensive guitar. You can pick these up for around about £400. and obviously the amp sits in that £150 price point. The amp is mic'd with a Lewitt Audio LCT 440 condenser mic, and there's nothing else in the chain, it's just the guitar straight into the amp via my Line 6 relay wireless system. So when you fire the amp up, there are two different ways you can start dialing in tones. You've got manual mode, which means you have complete control over everything in the amp and you control every parameter, or you've got preset mode. Preset mode's great because it comes loaded with 6 presets straight away. You can also use the FS11 or FS18 foot switches from BLACKSTAR to recall different presets as well. So it's quite versatile even though it's super small. 6 onboard presets are built in as well. You can change these in the Architect software. So we'll start off with preset mode. This is great if you just want to, plug it in, get a tone straight away without fussing around too much. Many players, when they first buy an amp, may not want to spend too much time tweaking sounds. They may just want to plug in and get a good tone. So let's check out the 6 presets that BLACKSTAR have loaded onto the amp. So to make sure the amp is in preset mode, what you want to do is look at this manual button here. If the LED is on, that means manual mode is enabled. So what you want to do is you want to press that button again so the LED light goes off. Now we have a preset saved on each of the voices. So the presets you're hearing are not relative to the position of any of the knobs on the top of the amplifier. These are all preset by BLACKSTAR. So the first preset, which is on the clean warm voice, is what BLACKSTAR describe as a dynamic classic clean with a plate reverb. If we now go to the clean bright, we get the second preset. This is what BLACKSTAR describe as a boutique clean with a spring reverb. So the harder you push this, the more breakup you get. So this is really dynamic. If you dig in, you get a little more breakup at the top end. So you could hear a little breakup at the top end there as I went to the bridge humbucker and dug in a bit more. The third one now is on the crunch voice. This is what they describe as a classic sort of medium to low gain overdrive with a nice mid hump. So that's a nice kind of British mid-hump tone. There's actually a little bit of phaser on that one as well. It's quite subtle, but there's a little bit of movement in the background. The fourth one now lives on the Super Crunch voice. This is a bit more of a modern driven gain sound, which has a bit of an analog slapback delay going on in the background. So we're starting to creep into higher gain territories now. To me, that kind of has a bit of an 80s thing going on there. The next one, which lives on the OD1 voice, is what they describe as a hot-rodded overdrive. This has a delay and a plate reverb, and they say it's great for soaring, smooth guitar solos. one, and this is the highest gain one, is what they call a tight mid-boosted metal overdrive tone. Right, so that brings us now to the end of preset mode. So those are the 6 default presets. And again, you can tweak those presets if you want, but those are just as they come out of the box. So now I'm going to put the amp into manual mode. So the manual LED is lit up. So now every parameter on the amp I have complete control over. So let's take a quick look at the 6 voices. So we'll start off with the clean warm tone. I've got the ISF currently set to the fully American position. So what I'll do is I'll play a little bit and I'll tweak the controls as we go along so you can hear the range of what this voice can do. So you would have seen me adjusting the gain control a little bit there as well. I started with the gain at midnight and I cranked it up to full. Just gives a little bit more bite at the top end. So now let's look at the clean bright channel. So this is a bit more of a boutique clean. So I'll do the same thing, gain it halfway and ISF on the American side, and I'll play again and switch through the dials. So in that clean bright voice, as you push the gain, there's actually a little bit of compression there as well, kind of simulating what a tube amp would do if you push that up. It's definitely got that boutique clean sort of flavor. So once again, we'll reset the gain and we'll go to the crunch voice. So there's a great range of crunch tones on offer. Now let's look at the super crunch. So now we're going into higher gain territories. So even on the super crunch voice, there's quite a bit of gain there. Let's go to OD1 now and reset the gain. This is that sort of classic pushed master volume style tube amp. So there's plenty of gain on tap there, but if you want a little bit more, we can go to the OD2 voice, which again is like a mid-pushed, super tight, high gain drive channel. So tons of gain on tap there. You could use this amp for everything from super, super pristine cleans right up to some kind of classic 80s sort of heavy rock and metal and thrash metal tones. There's everything in this thing. Don't know if it would do super heavy, modern saturated stuff, but again, if you threw an overdrive pedal in front of it, if you wanted that little extra push, you could probably do that. And so now we're going to take a look at the effects section. So I've just dialed in a clean tone that I really like the sound of. It's using the Clean Bright Voice and the American ISF, and I'm using the neck and middle position on together on the pickup selector. So we'll just go through each effect type, hear a little bit about what it does and the range of what it can do. So we'll start off with the reverb, which I've already got activated over here in the effects section. So in the effects section, we have two controls. We have the type, which has 4 different segments. Around this controls which of the 4 types of that effect are selected. The green light means the effect is enabled, and the level, this changes function depending on what we're doing, but for reverb, it just controls the level of the reverb that you hear. For the delay and modulation, the tap tempo switch will also become effective, but again, in reverb, we're not using that. So we have 4 different types of reverb available. We have room, hall, spring, and plate assigned to each one of these segments. In the reverb setting, this just controls the size of the reverb from the bottom of the segment up to the top of the segment, and the level controls the overall level of the effect. So the first one is the room reverb. Segment number 2 now is a hall reverb, so this is going to be a bigger space. So there's quite a big tail off on that whole reverb. At the top end, there's almost like a shimmer reverb thing going on as well. So next up, we've got spring reverb. And the fourth one is a plate reverb. So some really nice reverb textures there. I'm just going to reset this now to a whole reverb and leave that on, just because, like I said, I like having a reverb on when I play. Now let's look at the delay section. So there's 4 different types of delay available too. We've got a linear delay, which is like your typical digital delay. We've got an analog delay, which is nice and warm and it has some of those fuzzy repeats. A tape delay, which is the weird sort of fluttering and modulated delay tone. And we've also got a multi-delay, which is sort of like a dual delay. There's 2 different delay things going on at the same time. In the delay mode, the segment controls the feedback of the delay. So this is the amount of repeats. The level controls the volume, and then obviously the tap tempo switch is now blinking. This is the speed of the delay. So we'll start off on segment 1 with the linear delay. Next up, we'll look at the analog delay. So this will be a little bit warmer. That one's not as pristine sounding as the linear delay. Next up, we've got the tape delay. So now we're going to hear some weird sort of fluctuations and modulations in the tail. And finally, the multi-delay. So you can see it gets pretty crazy when you start to push those delays hard. They kind of go into that self-oscillating thing that you get from real tape echoes. Now let's take a look at the modulation. So we've actually got 5 different modulations here. On the first segment, we've got a phaser. On the second segment, we've got a chorus and a flanger. On the third segment, we've got an envelope filter, which is sort of like an auto wah. And on the fourth segment, we've got a tremolo. In the modulation mode, the level control actually now has another function. This depends on the type of effect selected. The tap tempo switch is also now flashing because this controls the speed of the modulation effect. So first up, we've got phaser. So the segment control here controls the mix, the level control controls the depth, and the tap controls the speed. So now we'll look at the second segment, which is a chorus and a flanger. So in this case, the level once again controls the depth of the effect, the tap controls the speed, but this time the type segment controls the morph. So the lower we are in the segment, the more chorusy it is, and the higher we are in the segment, the more flange it is. So it can get pretty wobbly there in those upper settings. The chorus sounds are very nice in this, and you can actually use a chorus effect with quite a high depth and a high speed to almost get sort of a fake fast Leslie sound. Now let's take a look at the envelope filter. This isn't a time-based effect, so the type segment controls the sensitivity and the level controls depth. This is sort of like an auto wah type effect. Who doesn't love a bit of auto wah fun? And the final one is a tremolo. So we're back on a time-based effect now, so the tap tempo is once again flashing. In this case, the type control controls the frequency modulation depth. Think of that as how often the tremolo moves back and forth, and the level controls the amplitude modulation depth, which is essentially how far up and down the tremolo extends. So when the tremolo is set very extreme, you get that choppy sound. there you go, guys. There is an in-depth look at the brand new BLACKSTAR ID CORE V3. Like I said, this is the 20 watt version. This is also available in a 10 watt and a 40 watt version as well. As you can see from this video, this amp really does pack in a lot of features into an amp that costs around about £150. Please check out the links down below in the description if you're interested in checking out this amp. If you want to read more about it or you're looking to get one, check out the links below, and I'm sure you will really, really love this thing. It's a great sounding little amp. The two 5-inch speakers really give a huge sound in the room. Now, obviously, I really hope that's translating well across the microphone, but in the room, it sounds huge. I think you really have to hear one of these to believe the way it actually sounds. It's amazing how much air this thing can, maybe it's not moving the air, but it's sort of creating the perception of the air moving. So it does kind of feel like I'm playing through a big amp here, but really I'm playing through something that's probably the size of the body of my guitar, and it's not even a proximity thing, it's literally next to me. So it looks small because it is small. BLACKSTAR have really packed in a ton of features, and all the tones you've heard I've dialed in just straight through the front panel. Now, I did mention that there is an additional editing software that you can use to really deep dive with the cab sims and all sorts of other cool features. That's called Architect. So if you've got one of these or you're getting one, don't forget to download that. Now, I didn't cover Architect in this video because I knew we were going to end up making quite a long video anyway because there's so many features. So there's going to be a follow-up video very, very soon on Architect, what it does, and a bunch more tones. So if you like the tones you've heard in this video, please stay tuned because we're going to do a deep dive into this and go even further and see what we can do with Architect as well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please let me know down below in the comments what you thought of this amp, what you think of the tones of the brand new BLACKSTAR ID CORE V3. If you've already picked one up, let me know what you think of it as well. And if you're looking to pick one up, get involved in the discussion anyway. And like I said, stay tuned for that Architect video because we're going to dig even deeper into what this thing can do. I think this thing sounds great. There's a ton of usable tones in there. They're all sounding really good. There wasn't really anything I heard that I didn't like too much other than maybe some of the higher gain tones, but that's just because I'm not really a fan of high gain tones. I think for what this thing does and the price point it sits in, it's fantastic. It's about £150 in the UK, like I said. Even the top line one, which is the 40 watt one, still comes in at under £200. So don't even let the price point fool you. It seems like an entry-level product, and obviously it fits into that entry-level price point, but there are tones in here to satisfy anyone. So if you're looking for something great just to practice with at home, or maybe a little amp to take with you to a hotel, the ID CORE V3 line is definitely worth considering. Obviously, if you're buying something like this, don't expect a gig-ready amp. It's two 5-watt speakers. It's not going to move enough air to fill a room full of people, but for playing at home, it's fantastic. The amp feels pretty robust. It feels pretty solid. There's a cool carry handle on the back. It's a recessed handle as opposed to the previous versions, which had like a strap handle. So that's quite a nice change. It's easy to grab and go. The only thing I noticed that was a little bit weird is when you start to push the volume, I'm not sure whether it's the cabinet design or the way that it's kind of ported, but you can actually feel air coming out of the top of the cabinet, which is quite weird. It seems to come out of where the chassis meets the actual cabinet at the top there. That doesn't really affect the tone too much, but it's just something quite strange I noticed as I was playing. When I was reaching over to change controls, I could feel like a breeze against my arm. There seems to be air coming out. I guess that's just the air inside being moved by the speakers, and it's finding a place to escape. So doesn't really affect it, but if you do get one and you notice that, don't worry. I think it's normal. It seems to be quite normal anyway. It doesn't seem to have affected the amp too much. If you did enjoy this video, please let me know down below in the comments. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Thanks so much for watching.